Welcome, coaches. I'm just getting everything set up right now. I hope y'all are having a great day. I know I'm excited about the big news that Coach Mumme is going to announce today live on stream. If this sounds all right, please let me know in the chat box below. Also, if this is the first time, welcome. I am Coach Ron McKie. This is my channel, Ron McKie Football. If you enjoy learning about the spread offense, especially the air raid, as you know, because we have the Godfather himself right here fixing to come on, and you haven't already, please click that subscribe button down below, and then there's also a bell somewhere over there. You can go ahead and click, and you get alerts when I go live, when I post new videos and everything like that. I am getting everything set up right now. We know that Coach Mumme is a very, very busy man, and I'm going to do my best. Please, y'all keep me in check that I don't fanboy out right now because he is an idol of mine. And while we wait for Coach to get on, please let me know where you're watching from and how's your day going. So we have Coach Godfrey. What's up, man? Coach Douglas, how's it going? Coach Lee, thank you. Coach Smith from Arizona, what's going on? Coach Josh, how you doing? Coach Singleton in the house, what's going on, buddy? You gorgeous bastard, you. Coach Patrick, Coach Sanders, Coach Woodson, welcome. I just bought the Offensive Coordinator's Handbook. Is a good book. Also, what are some good books for you to buy, coaches? If you have any good books, go ahead, put it in. I'm going to be honest. If we're talking about the air raid right now, The Perfect Pass, I watched that. I listened to that. That's freaking awesome. You need to get that. We got a lot of y'all in here, man. I'm freaking stoked. If your season is still going on, let me know. I hope everything's going okay. I'm just sending Coach a text. I can't believe I'm saying that I'm sending Coach Mumme a text. That's freaking awesome. All right, Coach. Click the link in the email. All right, while we're waiting on him, let's see. I missed some people. All right, Coach Derek, what's going on from Iowa? Coach Stewart from Savannah. Coach Sanders, University Offensive Coordinator, Anderson University. There we go. I can't read. I'm from the South. We got Coach Patrick from Germany. It's 10 p.m. over there. Welcome. Coach Daniel, how's it going, coaches? All right. Region champs, Coach Jeb, congratulations. We play Thanksgiving here in New Jersey, so we got a few weeks left. Coach Reed, well, I hope you keep winning. I hope you play until Christmas, whenever the state championship is. Coach Andrew, what's going on? I hope you're doing all right. Coach Smith, we threw for 2,500 yards in 10 games. Thanks to you. Hey, I appreciate it, man. But you took the information that's been on this channel and everything like that, and you've applied it. So, hey, high fives and butt slaps to you. Coach Chappelle from Utah. Coach Davis from Youngstown State. Good Lord, what's going on, man? Y'all doing okay? We got Coach Jason from Louisiana. Coach Sanders, I am from Crestwood, and Daniel's air raid. No, but I know that Daniel in South Carolina is unbelievable, and I will watch them. I promise. We didn't make the playoffs. We missed out. And there he is. There he is. What's up, Coach? Can y'all hear me?
We can. Can you hear us?
All right. Welcome. All right. So we have got some coaches in here already.
Good.
I told them that I'm trying my hardest not to fanboy out. So if I geek out, just be like, hey, Ron, calm down, buddy. Calm down.
No, it's good, Ron. I appreciate you doing this. And, I was sitting here telling Scott, it's pretty amazing. A guy has 14,000 followers on his YouTube. That's unbelievable.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. It was,
it's
because I don't
you have to know what you're doing. You not only have to know about football, you have to know what you're doing in the tech world. You and AJ share that.
Yes. Well, I wish I had half the brain power that he does to come up with the virtual reality. That thing is unbelievable.
He's the dumbest smart person I know. I tell him all the time, why are you not in Silicon Valley doing, you should be making $1 billion a year.
Because he has that he's addicted to that drug we call football.
He is. He's addicted. He's got the football gene. And no, he's a great guy. And yeah, it's an amazing product what he's put together for us.
I agree. And coaches, if you don't know, you need to go to vars.com. It is an unbelievable. He came, I don't know, I'm sure you know the story. He came and met me down here where I'm at, and we did a live clinic with it. And when he put it on, hearing about it and actually being a part of it is two different things. Because you're thinking like the old 80s and 90s 3D, you're like, oh, this is kind of crummy. But then you put it on and you go, holy crap. Yeah. I am there. I see everything. I hear it. It's like I am the quarterback, and just the mental reps you get.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
I'm a big believer. When he came and asked me to help him form this company, I had a company called Game Day Skins, which we still have, which being run by another one of my former players, Connor Preston. But we were doing some, shows at clinics and things like that. And so AJ came and asked me to look at his product, and I knew him from SMU because we had worked there. We didn't work together. We kind of crossed paths. I was kind of leaving when he was coming in, but I thought, well, I don't really know if I want to do this. So I had this girl that worked for me, and she was in charge of the booth and at this clinic. We were in San Antonio, and I said, go over and see that thing. And so she comes back and she says, Coach, you better go see that. And he had it set up in his hotel room. His hotel room was about a mile from the, I had to walk about a mile in the heat. I didn't really want to do it. I got over there and I walked in. I'm just like you. I put those goggles on, and within 30 seconds, I was sold.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. I told him I'll do it, but I only want to do it if we can make it affordable for high school coaches. And I also want to try it out. So I took it back to Belhaven. We tried it out on our freshman quarterback who was going to have to start as a freshman. And he threw for 4,000 yards and has always credited that training with being a big part of his success.
Oh yeah. The beautiful thing, and we'll get into everything, the huge announcement you have, I can't wait for people to hear this, but the beautiful thing I think of the air raid is how many reps you get over and over again.
Right.
And then when you add that with the virtual reality, you're essentially doubling or tripling the reps you're getting.
It's unbelievable. And it's great for the backup guys because as many reps as the starting quarterback gets, the backup in most situations has to sit there and just watch it. He has to try to get mental reps. And so they can come in off the field and actually put those goggles on and have the same visual reps that the starter had when you had Pascal or team and that sort of thing. And it's really making a difference for those guys.
Golly. All right, so let's get it. For those coaches that have been living under a rock and don't know anything about football, first off, I feel sorry for you. But second, could you give us just a brief introduction of why you're so great and why everyone needs to have a shrine of you in their house?
No, the person, thanks for flattering me so much. We didn't, people say we invented this all the time. And I'll say this right up front. We didn't invent anything. We're kind of like Nabisco. They didn't invent cookies. They just packaged up Oreos. And so it's been a pretty good thing. So air raid is a way of packaging offense. And I spent probably about 14 or 15 years of my early career in college, first in high school and then in college, and then back to high school and then back to college, and had very, very little success. There's a book called The Perfect Pass. If you haven't read it and you're interested in our deal, you should. Wyndon, a great historian. He normally writes Civil War history, but he took time out of his Civil War career to write about somebody who was still alive, and so he wrote about Mike Leach and myself, and the inception of air raid, and anyway, all that became it was just this. In my mind, I could see it I just had to learn how to teach it and how to package it so that you could do it, with any level of play and have a schedule and basically a formula for an offense that would go all year round. And then when you got into the season, a way of game planning each week and a way of practicing each week so that you had no wasted reps. And so what we learned through the years was it was mostly about repetition.
Mm-hmm.
And like is true in almost anything you do in life, the more you work at it, the more reps you get at it, the better you get at it. And by taking that thought process and then taking these series of plays that we had stolen from people like Lavelle Edwards at BYU or Bill Walsh with the 49ers or Mouse Davis and June Jones and the run and shoot guys, we kind of took those three offenses that were out there in the mid 80s and kind of took put our spin to it. And that's how it came along. So we did it first at Coppers Cove High School in Central Texas from 86 to 88. And then in 89, I went to Iowa Wesleyan College, and that's where I hired Mike Leach. Mike was basically the first air raid offensive line coach in college. And he's the one that put together the drills and all the techniques for teaching offensive linemen the way we do it. And so we did that for 3 years at Iowa Wesleyan, had great success there at a place that hadn't won a game in 2 years when we got there. We went to 2 small college bowl games, and then the third year we made it's still the only time in the history of that school they've been to the NAIA playoffs. And then we went to Valdosta State. They had a good football team, an average football team, good athletes. They weren't losing a lot of games, but they weren't winning a lot of games. They were pretty much 500 every year. And unfortunately for them, they were sharing the title town USA. It was about the high schools in Valdosta, Georgia, not about the college. Now it's changed now, but in those days, 1992, that was not true. And Valdosta High was kind of one of the ruling teams in high school football in those days. And so the interest level was all centered on high school football, and the college, which had had a program for 10 years and was pretty mediocre. We took the offense there, taught it. Our quarterback was Chris Hatcher, who's the head coach at Samford now. Had a lot of great guys coach with us there. Dana Holgerson was our receiver coach. Bill Biedenbaugh, the O-line coach at Oklahoma, was a graduate assistant O-line coach for us with Coach Leach. We had Brady Ackerman, who's at Jackson State now, was our running back coach. Guy Morris, who went on to take my place at the University of Kentucky and later on was the head coach at Baylor, was our line coach for a while. We've had just a lot of John Wiley's kind of familiar name around the Carolinas. Was at App State for a long time in East Carolina. He was on our staff. So we had a lot of great coaches there, but we took and we kind of really, that's where the finishing touches on the offense were put in place. And we really got efficient at not only teaching the offense, but also in teaching it at a very rapid pace so we could play fast on Saturdays. And which has become pretty popular now with people, even if they don't run our particular package of plays, there's a lot of people who like to play fast.
Yeah.
But in 1992, there was no one playing fast except for us and possibly John Jenkins at Houston. At every level you could probably name 5. In total. So that became a deal where we played for 2 national championships there. Had 2 Harlan Hill Trophy winners, Chris Hatcher and Lance Funderburk. Actually, Lance was a runner-up, but they were both finished in it. And then I went from there to the University of Kentucky. I got real fortunate, and so we moved the whole staff up there to Kentucky. And Kentucky was kind of in the doldrums. They hadn't been to a bowl game in a long time. We got there, put in the offense, and just as it had been nearly every place we went, everybody said, you can't do that. And we heard that in Valdosta, Georgia. I heard it in the high schools when I started in Texas. I mean, the area said, you can't do it that way, you know? And so when we got to the SEC, of course, that was the battle cry for about 9 months around there until Tim Capps threw 3 touchdown passes in the first quarter against Louisville in the first game. Then we had a bunch of believers, you know. Yes. And we beat Alabama that year. That was a big win for us. We went on to go to 2 back-to-back bowl games for the first time in probably, I don't know, decades. Went to the first New Year's Day Bowl since Bear Bryant was the coach at Kentucky. And had Tim Couch, who finished as a finalist for the Heisman Trophy and was the first player selected in the draft. And then about the time I left Kentucky, Mike Leach got the job, had gone to Oklahoma with Bob Stoops to be the OC. They put in the air raid at OU. Mike put it in the first year he was there in 1999. And then he got the job at Texas Tech, so left. And so then Stoops asked Mark Mangino to come over to Kentucky and study. And so Mark came over and they ran it the next year. In 2000, they won the national championship, beat Florida State for the national championship with it. And Mark went on, of course, to be the head coach at Kansas and spread it around. At this point in time, a lot of high schools had started picking it up, and a lot of high schools had started copying us. And then in Texas, when Leach got the job at Texas Tech, the same thing occurred there. So you kind of had this movement through the South, where the Southeastern Conference was and the Big 12 was, where there was just a lot of people starting to do this or do like-minded things. And, I kind of got into watching this as I went from job to job at Southeast Louisiana, and New Mexico State, and McMurray, and various levels, everybody trying to do it, though. And there was just a lot of people out there that wanted to do it but didn't know how to do it, and there was a lot of misinformation out there too.
Yeah.
We'd never had a written playbook that we just didn't believe it. We just we did reps, and of course now we do the virtual reality playbook. But when we first started, we had never used a playbook, but you could go on the internet and people would be happy to sell you an air raid playbook. So I was always amazed at, I would have high school coaches call me up and say, hey, I just bought one of your playbooks. And most of the time I didn't have the heart to tell them they paid $50 for something that wasn't even real. So that kind of led us all that through the years. And now I'm fortunate to be able to work with Coach Stoops and the Dallas Renegades. Coach Scotty Spurrier is going to be on here with us in a little bit too. We're put together a great staff here, and we're going to do it in pro football. But I just kind of saw a need for us to be able to do something like what we're getting ready to announce here.
All right. And 2 things. One little antidote. I love how if you haven't already, you need to check out The Perfect Pass. And before you got on, I was telling everybody, they were asking what are some good books to read about the air raid. And I said, there needs to be 2, The Perfect Pass and Stretch the Cornfield.
Yeah.
Those 2 are unbelievable. But talking about the no-huddle in the book, tell me if, in my mind, this is what happened. Y'all are sitting there, you're watching the bandit drill.
Right.
And you're going on, and it's you and Coach Leach. And in my mind, you're just watching it, and you go, hey, why don't we do that all game? And it's just like a light bulb just goes off.
Yeah, we had gone to Iowa Wesleyan in 1989, and we won 7. The next year in 90, we won 8. And those little schools in the Midwest that Wesleyan usually played, we were independent. And so they wouldn't play us anymore. So we looked up, and for 1991, we had a schedule that was just unbelievable. We had all these big state universities we had to play. So I told Mike, I said, we had everybody back, our quarterback back, our receivers, most of our line, most of our defense. And I said, we might have the best team we've ever had here and win 3 games just because the schedule's so difficult. We need to find an edge. Well, we decided to make this trip to Florida to recruit. And when we got down there, when we flew into Orlando, Mike remembered that a fellow named Bill McDermott, who had given him his first chance, let him be a volunteer and kind of follow him around at Cal Poly, was working for a team called the Orlando, I think they were the Breakers. Not sure what their mascot was, but they were part of the World League of American Football. It was a spring league. And he said, why don't we call and see if we can go watch them work out? So I said, yeah. So we go over there, and a fellow named Don Matthews was the head coach. He went on later to win, I think, 6 or 7 Grey Cups in Canada. Great football coaches. But they were very gracious to us. They let us sit around and watch them in their meetings. And we were walking out to practice with Coach Matthews, and I said, what's the best drill y'all do? And I was expecting him to maybe give me like a quarterback drill or something, you know. And he looks at me, he says, well, the best thing we do is at the end of practice, we call it bandit drill. It's when we practice our 2-minute offense. And I'd seen people practice 2-minute offenses before, but I'd never seen anything this organized and this well coached. And I'm just sitting there watching this thing, and they've got the defensive staffs on one sideline simulating a game, and the offensive staffs on the other sideline simulating a game, and the subs are going in and out, and they've got their punters and kickers spotting the ball, being like they're the referees, and they're just putting the ball down, moving the ball about 5 or 10 yards each play, and doing it as fast as you can possibly do it, and they're just getting plays run, and I'm sitting there watching this, and I'd kind of had in the back of my mind an idea about maybe trying to no-huddle, but I didn't know how to practice it. And watching this, I looked at Mike and I said, that's what we got to do right there, except we're not going to do it as a 2-minute offense. We're going to do it all the time. So we took it back to Iowa Wesley and we put it in. And August 31st, 1991 was what most people think of as the air raid now. That's when that was the very first game. When we beat we were playing a team ranked 10th in the nation, a division above us. We were NAI and they were Division II, and they were 10th in the nation. They got ahead of us 24-7 at halftime. We came back in the second half and defeated them 34-31. And that was the first win in a 10-win season that led to the playoffs, and eventually us going to Valdosta State.
I love that.
That was all because of the idea of let's just do everything as fast as we possibly can.
And the people, I'm sure the people in the stands didn't realize they just saw history in the making.
The Rob Ash was the head coach at Montana State for several years, and at that point in time, he was the head coach at Drake. And about 6 or 8 years ago, my son, who's the offense coordinator at Nevada, was looking for a job, and he went and interviewed with Rob for the OC job, and Rob told him that story of he had a friend who was going to play the Northeast Missouri the next week, which Northeast Missouri is now called Truman State. And so he asked Rob, he said, y'all aren't playing, would you go over and just watch the game, give me a scouting report or something, you know? So he's sitting there and he tells my son, he said, he remembered, and my son was a ball boy on the sidelines that night. He said, I remember seeing this little ragtag group come out, and nobody's dressed alike. And, and he said, you look down the other end and the other guys come out and they look like they're the Green Bay Packers, And he's sitting there going, I think this is going to be a long night. And at halftime, he only hung around because we were playing fast, and he just wanted to watch and see how that worked out, although we were not winning. And then the comeback and the fact that we just sapped their defense so badly that we were able to come back and beat them. And he told my son, he said, he didn't know who the coach was at Iowa West. He was going to find out and find out where this came from.
That is, that's awesome. Now, okay. Before I got you on that tangent, I'm sorry, that just stuck out my mind. You said you had a big announcement. I know a lot of coaches are asking what's the big announcement. So please let us know, what is this big announcement that you have?
Well, AJ AJ Smith and I are gonna we're unleashing the Air Raid Certified. And as I alluded to earlier when we were talking, I got tired of everybody referring to our offense, but then when you really drill down into what they're doing, they didn't know what they were doing, or maybe they were labeling it that way, but it really wasn't. So we decided to have a certification for anybody that wants to take part and learn the offense. I kind of envision this being for particularly for younger coaches that are starting out in the profession. And so it's a series of tests and videos where I do the instruction myself, and then they watch a video and they learn one play of the offense or one segment of the offense, and then they take a test on it, and then they go to the next one, where it's $500 to take the course, which, if you think about it, is basically just, if you're a young coach starting out, you could maybe further your career with $500, or you could buy another Xbox. So if you're serious about doing this and wanting to do it, then you got to learn it, and you have to learn how to, not only the plays and the offense, but you got to learn how to teach the offense. And so that we spend a lot of time going into that. And then towards the end of the course, there's a segment on getting jobs. There's some of the things I've done and told young coaches about how to interview,
which is my favorite part of that whole thing.
Yeah, it's so. And then if they'll take this course and go through it, then there's going to be a convention in the summertime, and we'll have whoever has signed up for the course will be admitted to the convention. That's part of the package. And then you'll have a chance to get to know myself and AJ, and then you can use us as a reference on your resume. And then if you've passed this course, then when I go to recommend somebody for a job, I can safely say they know the offense, and they don't just know some version that they got from some playbook on the internet that somebody made up. They're going to have actually taken the course taught by me and take the test created by us. So we're kicking this off today, and I think the first 20 coaches that sign up get a discount, a big discount, and they also get some Air Raid T-shirts with some Air Raid T-shirt.
And actually, since you said that, I know that we have a little commercial as well, coaches. So I'm about to play that.
Good. Cool.
And here we go. All right, there you go. And coaches, I can't express this enough, that the course, I went through it. I got a little tip and everything like that, and it was eye-opening, because I feel like I tried to do it as close as I could, because I didn't have any inside with you, right?
Correct.
So I went to the one back clinic twice out of the 3 years. I hounded you on everything that I could think of. I tried to get as close as I could without coming off as a stalker, but there were some things that I didn't know. And this course right here answered those things. Now I have some coaches already asking for the link, and I am going to drop it into the chat box right now. I'm going to spam it real quick. There you go. And and if you go ahead and get it right now, only 20 people get this. It is first 20. If you use that as a coupon, you get $100 off and the t-shirt as well. And when I went through this course, there was two things that I loved. One, like I already said, that interview part. I thought that was freaking genius right there. Unbelievable. That's worth it right there. And then the second thing was the screen game portion.
Yeah, the one back clinic's great, and we're taking the one back clinic. That's what we're turning into the air raid convention now in the summertime every year, and we're going to bring in some of the top air raid guys to be speakers and really have a really good session over a couple of days there where people can come and learn. We're also going to have some ways for people to do it online if they can't afford to travel to wherever we're having it. The information on that will be out here soon. But the thing about, like you were saying before, about going to those clinics is you can scratch the surface, but you really can't drill down on how to do everything. There's just not enough time in a 1 or 2 day period to learn everything you need to know. And so really the way to do this is take this course, go through it, and then if you have questions, you can email me. I'll email you back. You can contact me, and I'll be happy to answer any of the questions that you have on it. I've had some people ask me how does this differ from a lot of people have done the American Football Monthly.
Yes.
And it's there's a lot more content. Once you pass the certification, then you get many hours. I think it's something like 14 or 16 hours of video that hasn't been shown. It's not with American Football Monthly or any of that. That's still a good thing to do, and it's probably more geared to older coaches that have already been in the air raid or already done some things, have a base of knowledge with it. This is probably more geared to people who just want to learn how to do it and need the fundamentals first. And so as I taught it, I tried to teach it like I would somebody who was just starting out, kind of like I taught Sam Gwynn, the author of Perfect Pass, because he told me when he wrote the book, he didn't know anything about football. And I'm pretty sure he could be an air raid offensive coordinator now.
I'm sure that
a lot.
I tell people, I love that book so much that I tell the coaches, when you go to the game, most coaches my age or older, they put their headsets on, they listen to music, just like the players, to get in that mind frame, time to go. I put on the Perfect Pass and I listen to it because I'm like, what would Coach Mumme do in this game? As corny as that sounds, that's what I do.
Well, I appreciate it. And I'm sure Sam appreciates it too. But he's a perfect example. Here's a guy that, he didn't really play football or anything, but he was just totally enthralled. He got really enthralled by watching Mike Leach's Texas Tech teams. When he was editor of Texas Monthly, he lived in Austin, and he became kind of a University of Texas fan. And of course, the book starts out with the famous Crabtree catch, in 2008 when they knocked off #1 Texas. And so he just wanted to know, how does this occur? How does this happen? What's the magic behind this? So it was fun teaching him. And so I kind of have done this course. I thought about that a lot, because it took him over 2 years to write this book, and he talked to a lot of people and watched a lot of film from a lot of our places. And so I kind of thought about how Sam learned it. And so that's the way we approached it with the air raid certification. So, if somebody wants to really get into this and if it's a fan that just wants to understand more about it, they're going to get a lot out of this. If it's a young coach or a coach who maybe not young, but just wants to change his offense to air raid, this is certainly the way to go about it.
That is awesome. And I know I went through it. I got certified. You got Coach Spurrier right there. his beautiful
Yeah.
self sitting on the couch right beside you. He's certified as well.
Scott's
How you doing, Coach?
with us in the XFL. He's getting a daily dose of it.
Yes. So, Coach, what is your experience with it? What do you think?
I think it's great. I think it's a great opportunity for a bunch of coaches, like Coach Mumme had mentioned. I soak up as much information from Coach on a daily basis about the system, about the offense, and I've been watching Coach in all the different schools and teams that have run it, and it's exciting. It's fun football. It's fast paced, and from a young coach who's in the profession, it's a great opportunity. So.
Awesome. That's coming from a family of passing. Look at that. Passing on passing, man. That's like passing squared right here. I'm not.
Well, I told his dad we both went to watch Houston play Washington State early in the year this year. Of course, obviously, Scott's brother Steve coaches for Coach Leach at Washington State, and so there's all these ties, to the whole thing. Of course, Coach and I used to have some great games back in the day at Kentucky, and I was telling him, I said, Mike Leach came up with the term air raid when we were at Iowa Wesleyan, because one of his other jobs besides coaching the O-line was to be the SID for football. His job was to try to get us in the Des Moines Register. And so he came to me one day and he says, we need a name for our offense. And I said, well, why do we need a name? We just say offense and they run on the field, And he goes, no, I'm not talking about practice or games. He said, I'm talking about the writing I have to do to try to get somebody's attention. I said, what do you got in mind? He goes, well, Coach Spurrier's at Duke, and he has this thing he calls air ball. He calls it air ball. And the Duke students chant air ball, and they, hit balls all over the student section and stuff like that. And kind of seen some of that because Steve was really becoming popular with what he was doing, throwing the ball. And so I told him that story, and he really liked that. So, well, we came up with air raid because of air ball. So there's a lot of family ties in this whole deal. And again, we've never claimed to have invented anything. We just claim we're just good at packaging. That's what this is all about.
That's freaking awesome. So again, coaches, if you need it, the link is in the description below, as you can go and check it out. And also the first 20 people, let me go ahead and get that. Get $100 off. It is right here. There you go. And okay, so I know you're busy. You're doing the XFL. By the way, how is that going? Have y'all started practicing and everything?
We're going to have mini camps in December, and of course there's 8 teams. There's Vince McMahon is the owner of the league. Oliver Luck's our commissioner. We've got Seattle, Los Angeles, Houston, Dallas. That's the West, and then in the East there's St. Louis, Washington D.C., New York City, and Tampa Bay. Got some great coaches in this league we get to go against. There's actually some other air raid coaches. St. Louis is Doug Meacham's one of our air raid certified guys. He'll be one of the speakers at the convention in the summertime. But he's done this for a long time. But he's the offense coordinator in St. Louis. Where Jonathan Hayes, who was one of Coach Stoops' assistants at OU, is the head coach. Jonathan went on to coach in the NFL for a long time at Cincinnati mostly. And June Jones is at Houston, so they'll be running, shooting it. And Kevin Gilbride's at New York City, another passing guru from the NFL.
That's why I'm so excited about the XFL.
Who's had great success in Canada, is Tampa Bay's head coach. And Los Angeles has Winston Moss as the head coach, but their offense coordinator is Norm Chow, who, of course, was the OC at BYU when we used to go up there and study and everything. So that'll be like old home week there. Jim Zorn's the head coach at Seattle. And did I leave any out there, Scott? I'm trying to think. I think we named them all. Stoops. Yeah, and then, of course, Bob Stoops is our head coach here in Dallas. And so anyway, we're excited. We had our draft, and we're getting ready for a supplemental draft at the end of this month. Get all of our players signed up, and then in December we'll have mini camp. We'll be in January, most of January in Houston, where all 8 teams will have training camp, and then the first game is February the February 8th and 9th after the Super Bowl, and we'll kick it off and play 10 games from February to April.
I can't freaking wait. So are you going to how are you still going to stick with the 3-day install and everything like
Oh yeah. No, we haven't changed anything. It's been fun to start working with guys who are professionals. And so you're working with younger, older players, that have played pro football. It's amazing how many of these guys have run air raid in high school now, though. Nearly everybody that is on our team has some sort of background in it. So we're excited to do it, and it'll be a lot of fun to do it in this league. It's going to be a fast-paced league, and I think air raid's going to be a good fit for it.
All right. And coaches, I don't know if y'all can see it. I've dropped it in the chat. If you can, let me know if you can see the link or not, because I want to just make sure that y'all are getting access to the link. I see a lot of y'all are saying that you can't see it. So it's in the chat. I've also put it, if you scroll down, it is in the comment, the very first comment as well. Can't see the link. Okay, let's see how I can do that. No, can't see it. All right, what if you scroll down to the comments and see if y'all can't do that? I feel like a dumbass now because I can't see it. I keep posting the link, but I guess links don't show. Okay, so what we can do then is I will be sending this out. I will also tweet out the link right now to my Twitter account. Here's the big announcement from, I guess Google is having it. They don't want people to spam. That is why they're doing it.
Me. AJ Smith just texted me. If they'll just go to airraidcertified.com is all they have.
Okay. And I will also email the link. I'll put it in the email and send that as well, so you can see it. I apologize for that, but it's on my Twitter.
And it's
everything like that.
It's all one word. Air Raid Certified is all one word.
Okay. So, all right, Coach, I know y'all are busy. So I had a lot of coaches ask questions. I simplified it to a couple that are repeating. So if you could just bear with us real quick. The first one is, I know you're a huge proponent of the mesh. Like, that is your go-to route. That is what you're known for. That's what the air raid. To me, I tell people the mesh is to the air raid like the veer is to the option.
Yeah. I actually wore my 92 group. We got a group over there in the Carolinas called the 92 group. They're totally dedicated to mesh.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Spend a lot of time. George Colthorpe and that whole group, they spend a lot of time just talking about mesh, and they call it all the time. So.
And I told him that
he sent me this attractive shirt that I'm wearing. It's
and you wear it in one of the videos as well.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty cool. But yeah, shout out to George and the group there. All
right. So if you can't do
what's
mesh,
your question? Yeah.
If you can't have mesh, what's your next favorite play besides mesh?
Oh, it's got to be 4 verticals, and the reason is because first of all, I think they work together. Because you got one of them where you're stretching the field vertically, and then you got another one that you're stretching the field horizontally, and so it just forces defenses to cover, the entire space that's left from the line of scrimmage. So 4 verticals would be what I'd have to say, and in the lecture on that, we spent a lot of time going over the nuances of 4 verticals, which is really, to me, if you went into a game with just those 2 plays, you probably would be in pretty good shape.
I tell everybody this story. I'm sure you don't remember this. It was the very first one-back clinic, and I struggle with teaching, or I did, with the 4 verts, and I got able to ask you the question. I go, Coach, how do you teach the progression-wise the 4 verts? And you looked at me like, are you seriously asking this question? And then you asked, is your quarterback left-handed or right-handed? I said right-handed. And he goes, easy. You just go from left to right. I don't know why you're making it that difficult. And to you, it was nothing, but to me, a light went off. I was like, holy shit, that is so simple. Why didn't I think of that before?
Yeah, we Yeah, probably 90% of our four verts are red left to right with right-handed quarterbacks, and again, that just it's just a reps thing. We're not locked into just doing. I mean, obviously, if our wide receiver on the right to our right has press coverage and we know he can beat that guy, we're going to throw a touchdown pass over there. but when you start talking about teaching a concept of how to do it, for your whole program and all your players, and from the beginning, say in spring practice or two-a-days or camp, we don't have two-a-days anymore, but camp, you got to have a starting point, and so that's always been our starting point.
All right, that makes sense to me. Four verts and mesh is almost like the if-then, kind of thing. And you're right. In that course, you go deep on four verts, which is it is amazing. All right, now the second one. I know a lot of coaches say this about they want to run the air raid, but they don't have a quarterback. I'm sure you've gotten that throughout your entire career. What do you say to those coaches that say, I want to run this offense, but I don't have a quarterback, or but I don't have wide receivers, or some kind of but?
I can remember asking Mouse Davis that question in the early 80s when he happened through El Paso, Texas, when I was the OC at UTEP in 1983, I believe. They were starting the USFL, and he was out kind of just looking for players at colleges, and he came by UTEP, and I corralled him in an office for about 7 or 8 hours and talked a lot of football. And I remember asking him that question, and I thought he gave the smartest answer of anybody for a high school situation. He said, just go recruit the baseball team. Said, I promise you there's a shortstop or a second baseman or a center fielder that can be your quarterback and will want to be your quarterback, And so, you're just looking for somebody that's kind of a leader type guy that has a decent enough arm. And if they can play shortstop or third base or second base or center field, something like that, they probably have a good enough arm to throw a football.
All right. And before I ask the third one, Coach John asked, have you married the RPO into the air raid? And that is, I want to say it's a 20-minute video that you cover in the course, right? The RPO is inside the air raid.
Yeah, and I always give Dana Holgerson credit for that because I was pretty reticent to do it. But he went he left Coach Leach's staff and went with Kevin Sumlin to Houston, and they had Case Keenum, and they just got so great at marrying the run game with the little quick passes, pop passes, and stick passes and stuff like that, and screens. They really changed they solidified the run game part of offense in the air raid, which is I thought was pretty revolutionary. He came and taught it to me and came by the office when I was at McMurray in 2010 and going into the 11 season. And he said, why are you not doing this? I said, well, I guess it's about reps. I'm afraid we can't get enough reps. And he said, I can teach it to you in 5 minutes. So it was so simple. We put it in, and our rushing average in 2011 went from like 75 yards a game to something like 110 with the same players. So insane. The answer about RPOs is yes.
All right. I have one more question. Then I think AJ is going to come on real quick.
Yeah.
All right. Now, this kind of goes on to the second question. A lot of coaches, other than saying they don't have the players, they have a game and their quarterback's not making the throws, or their wide receivers are dropping the pass, or maybe their offensive line is having a difficult time pass blocking or something like that. And they get in that conservative mode, like, oh, screw it, we're just going to hand the ball off over and over again. As a coach that you've made your living on the pass, and Coach Spurrier, maybe you can help with this as well. What do you do when it's just not going? Do you go conservative, or do you just say, screw it, this is what we're doing?
Well, let Scott give a little different perspective because he's been around his dad's offense all these years. And then I'll give mine after that.
Okay.
Like Coach said, this whole system's based off repetition. And if you go conservative, you're probably going to be running or calling something that you might not have repped as much as the other stuff. So
Yeah.
we're going to be really good at what we do and the air raid system. And, that's what you work on every day. So, that's what your players are going to be a little bit more experienced at, and getting those reps and, let it fly. It's gotten, coach obviously has had a lot of stuff. And, my dad did the same thing at Florida,
Yeah, I think you have to commit to something.
Yeah.
You've committed to air raid or this style of offense. You're committed to throwing the ball and being able to pass block and do the things you have to do, and to catch the ball and to throw the ball. And if you try to change horses in midstream, that hardly ever works out.
But this is something I see is I try to equate it as sometimes, coaches that run the wing tee or the flex bone, they get stuffed. But
Yeah.
you never see them go, you know what, fuck it, I'm just going to throw the ball now since I'm getting stuffed. They stick with what they do. But for some reason, air raid teams, when they get, let's say, 3 and outs, everyone's like, run the ball. And coaches get conservative.
I think that comes from the fans and the announcers you hear on TV. And a lot of them it's kind of 19th and 20th century thinking. They just really don't want to come into the 21st century thinking of how to do things and how to really create great offense. But sometimes you got to let your players just mature, and they got to make some mistakes before they're going to mature. So my advice is just stay with it. It'll straighten out, and you'll solve the problems, the individual problems that you have, either by maybe changing personnel or maybe get that person gets better at what he's doing.
Okay. And I think Coach AJ is on. Coach, how
yeah,
you doing?
AJ wanted to come on. I wanted AJ here, and he's kind of the brains behind this operation. I'm just the pretty face.
Can you hear us, Coach?
No, I can hear you. I'm good to talk.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, coaches, hey, we're live and we're pretty excited about the air raid certification. One big note, Coach Mumme doesn't even know, and you, Coach McKie, I've been watching this thing break out, and we've already had 20 coaches register, and so the code no longer works. First 20 is dead.
Oh, wow.
People are getting after this thing. They're seeing the benefits of it. So what I've done is I've opened it up for the rest of the day, since you came in and you watched the Coach McKie broadcast live. And so now what we're going to do is, if you put in the code air raid, you'll still get that $100 off. We're going to keep that going till the end of the day, because there's just such a mass demand for this. So I think it's only fair for people that are trying to scurry and get everything they need to get this done. So if you put in air raid, it'll continue to be done. So I wanted to put that code out there for everybody that's watching. We've had hundreds of people watching this, and so pretty exciting.
Is it all lowercase, one word, lowercase, air raid?
All lowercase is air raid.
Okay.
And
right.
We're going to go till midnight. Is that what we're doing, AJ?
Yeah, till midnight to still get the $100 off.
Yeah.
All right. And coaches that are watching right now, if you don't have the link, it's in the comments. I'm also I posted it on my Twitter. I'm going to email the link out as well to my email list and put it on the Facebook group. A couple of things, I see a lot of people in the chat real quick, just to let y'all know. 6 is the 4 verts. That's
Yes.
the air raid. The 6 shallow, that's your shallow cross series that you cover in the course as well. Coach, again, I thank you so much for being a part. I know y'all are freaking busy putting all of that together, and then the XFL and all of that. So I appreciate you coming on and sharing your knowledge with us.
We appreciate you on what you're doing for the game, and you got a huge following out there, as you should have.
I appreciate it.
We thank you so much for letting us be part of it.
No,
Okay.
and absolutely. And just y'all did a great job of explaining everything, but just to go over it one more time, when you get your air raid certification, you immediately get access to over 16 hours worth of video, never before seen stuff. And I mean, we have segments, as you saw in the commercial, where Coach Mumme is green screened into a virtual world, and he's breaking down coverages. He's going to sit you down in an interview and teach you, in that interview, what's going to be asked of you and what you should say. Then the basis of air raid philosophy and knowledge is just a little bit more in X's and O's. And then you're going to get this library that goes all the way back to 1998 Kentucky, the Texas Tech, all the way to present day Washington State. Just a library air raid stuff that's just, okay, this is what we've taught you now. This is what it's supposed to look like. And then the last part that's very unique, that it's monthly webinars in our off season. Have the very first one, and Coach Mumme and Patrick Taylor, who averaged over 500 yards a game in the air raid this year, sat down and broke down 95 with his offense over at North Surrey. Because there is it's you're coaching college, this is high school. No, we're going to break down your high school film, and we're going to see it just the way you're seeing it and tell you how we would coach it and how to get better. And again, once you're certified, you get your certification. You can now, instead of saying, well, I know the air raid, no, I'm certified. I learned directly from Hal. I have Hal's recommendation. I'll have his email for any question and answers. And that too will update on that webinar section. Our coach too will always be updating. And then too, when you go to our website at airraidcertified.com, you will be on that list. And there's different levels of certification. And so if you've never been a coordinator and you complete the certification, you're automatically level 1. If you get an OC job and you throw for 2,500 yards and you attend the National Air Raid Clinic, which you get to go to for free since you registered with the Air Raid Certified certification, you're automatically another level for continuing to go. And there's work courses we will have to up your level. And obviously the higher you coach, as far as college or pro, the higher your certification goes. So I think that's a unique part of it as well, to keep you always trying to refresh, because there could be something at the end of the year that me and Coach Mumme might have a new tweak about shallow. And then we're going to put that out there. And then once you complete that course, you're up to date on all things air raid. And there's the code out there for the $100 off. But it's a one-time deal. It's not a residual of 500 a year. We don't believe in that. It's a one-time. Get your certification and be on the cutting edge of pretty much the new way and the new direction coaching is taken.
All right, and just also everything. I'm going to get on this as well. When I email the link out, if you purchase through the link I send out and you send me a receipt, and this is only good until, when did you say you're closing it? Because we're going to
until midnight, Ron.
Until midnight tonight or tomorrow? Tonight,
AJ.
Tonight.
Okay. If you purchase through the link that I'm going to email out, and through my link, and you send me a screenshot of your receipt, I will send you a little bonus. They don't even know about it. I want to keep that intrigued a little bit. So if you purchase through the link, send me a receipt. I will give you a big time bonus as well. And I just wanted to go ahead and show the website off real quick so everyone can see it.
And as you're doing that, I have one other point. There's the website, there's the list. But, Coach McKie has his books, Simplified Air Raid. Coach Patrick Taylor has Green Grass Reach. Well, when you get on the internet, and a big purpose of this is, well, where's this information coming from? Both coaches are air raid certified. They learn directly from Coach Mumme. So there is this, is this the real deal? Is it not? From that point, once you're certified, man, you can ride away with whatever you want to because you're experiencing the air raid. And so, we heavily endorse our coaches who are certified in any material they have.
Yeah, and I've already put your name, Coach Mumme, on as a reference. So if you
there we go. Those, well, I get a lot of calls all the time. People want to know how to do this, and the second question is always, well, who can I get that can help me? And people that get jobs or trying to fill staffs. I get a lot of calls from guys who are trying to save their job. You never know. The college game is pretty tough sometimes, and like a lot of head coaches are reticent to be air raid guys after a couple of years of not winning, running the wing T or whatever. Their air raid's starting to look pretty good, so they're always looking for that coordinator to come in and spark some interest and fire up the players over maybe a new way to win games. And this is probably the fastest way to turn one around if you got to turn it around.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That's why a lot of people have done it. I just love the pass. I'm going to be honest. So I'm all about the pass. So coaches, I appreciate for all of y'all that are watching. Thank you so much for tuning into this. If you haven't already, this is my channel. I talk everything about the spread, air raid, everything. So if you haven't, click that subscribe button and the bell notification. If you found this entertaining and you saw all these gorgeous people's faces, please give it a thumbs up. Check your email. I will be sending out the email. If you purchase through my email link, send me a receipt and I will give you a bonus on that. And coaches, anything else before we go? I know y'all are busy.
No, we're excited to do this and look forward to working with a lot of great coaches.
All right. And thank y'all so much. And coaches, thank y'all for joining us. And until next time, let's continue to master the spread, score points, and have fun. Coach Mumme, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. Thanks so much for helping.
All right. See y'all.
See you, AJ.
See ya.